Welcome to Open House, the real estate and mortgage show on News Talk 580 CFRA.
If you have any questions about mortgages or real estate, give us a call at 521-TALK. That's 521-8255.
Or text 1-800-580-CFRA.
With Frank Napolitano and Paul Rushforth, here is Steve Gregory.
How does Frank get top billing?
You know what? I was about to say that. How does Frank's name go first? You know,
I've done more shows than you.
Well, come on.
Easy.
It's my show that I invite you on. Come on. You should be.
Oh, we're stirring the pot early
Here
today.
we go. He's inviting us.
Frank, isn't it? Frank. I'm sorry I called you Frank, Steve. That's
I'm leaving right now.
Yeah. I actually thought about that myself when you brought it up, and I'm quite offended by that, actually.
I don't blame you.
Shouldn't be.
Yes.
How do you think I feel? I'm third.
Right? Right? And you're the star.
Speaking of third, August 3rd today, 1 month today, the kids are back in school.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was actually talking to somebody. Yeah, I was actually talking to somebody
that early, eh?
It is early. It's the first Tuesday,
That's
though.
before.
It only took 10 weekends.
Yeah,
it only took 10 seconds for Frank to interrupt me like that. You know, I was talking to a lady this week whose kids are going into French school, and they're actually going back, I believe, in 2 weeks. So that's like mid-August.
True.
But you know what? Summer's now dwindling down. I was talking to my girlfriend this morning about this, and we were like, you know, I said summer's almost over. We still have at least another month left.
We're not even halfway. Halfway is
Well,
Tuesday. Halfway is Tuesday.
Yeah, but keep in mind, sports start early. Like sports, I remember back in my day, you know, just a few years back. Back in my day.
Sorry, was that out loud?
Yes. Back in
back.
my day, you know, we didn't start till sort of late September. Now kids are on the ice.
You didn't start till mid-October.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant school.
Yeah. But, you know, we started a lot later. Now kids are, you know, in training camps in mid to sort of later into August, and that means summer's over. So
They don't take a break, and that's a problem. Like, the kids really need to take a break and just not get off skates for a month and just do other things.
Yeah.
But parents are so adamant that kids continue to skate throughout the summer.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Now, with an early Labor Day, what is that going to do to the market?
Well,
is that going to move things up, or are we still waiting for interest rates?
To be honest with you, I mean, obviously the numbers are about to come out. I checked yesterday afternoon; they weren't out yet, but they will be coming out by next show. I suspect our number of sales are going to be quite up. I mean, we were personally up, so I believe the board's going to be up, and I think our average sale price is probably going to be somewhere flat, somewhere pretty similar to where we were the month before. We did not have a spring market. We're now sort of having a small spring market in our summer, when usually most people are on vacations and it's a lot slower. So I think going into our fall market, it's going to be even stronger as some of these rates drop and people are back at school and thinking more about real estate. But we've had a delayed spring, and that's why our summer's been quite strong. And I think when the numbers come out, I think we're going to see that it was quite strong in July.
We really had no spring market this year.
We didn't. It was, I mean, we were waiting for that spring market to start. And I've been saying for the longest time, our spring market starts mid-January.
Yeah.
Well, really replace January with mid-July, right? Like we didn't really have that spring market where we thought we were going to have. I think there was so much uncertainty with rates. I think there was so much uncertainty with prices. I think just people weren't willing to move forward on product. And I mean, we talked about it before the show. A third of our market is first-time home buyers, and they're out of the market. The next probably 25% of that is investors. They're out of the market. So 50% of our market is kind of like sitting on the sidelines right now. So it's no secret that, you know, the market was going to be a little bit slower starting into 2024. And, you know, I keep saying it's, you know, now's the time, but we keep delaying. And I feel like, I think, Frank, you're saying this morning, September 4th is when the next rate drop is, rate announcement, which we expect to be a drop. I think we're seeing the optimism. I was with one of my senior agents this week, and we were talking about what's going on in the market. And I said, yeah, it's still a little bit slow. He's like, I don't know, Paul. I feel the rhythm. I feel the momentum. I feel like it's really, really starting to pick up. And I hope he's right. I hope there is that optimism out there as we start getting a few more rate drops. But, you know, I think Frank, unfortunately, might be right. When we may need a few more than the next maybe 3 announcements as rate drops. We may need a 4th or a 5th.
Yeah, but we're not going to have any first-time home buyers with this amazing program the government just started. They're all going to go to new builds.
Yeah.
Well, the builders haven't exactly had lineups out their door either. I mean, it's not that long ago, 5 years ago, where people would line up on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's right.
To buy houses on the Saturday that the builders would release on the Saturday. And back then, the interest rates were, in the high 2s, low 3s for a 5-year fixed, and the houses were much more affordable. So as much as the interest rates are a big key, and I think that'll spur on the real estate market, there's still that sense out there that houses are just too expensive today. If your townhouse is in the 5s and your single home is in the 6s and 7s, even with interest rates at 4%, then like I expect by the end of the year, a 5-year fixed will be in the very low 4s. I expect in the next week, because we've seen bond markets come down in the last 2 days by 40 basis points. So I expect in the next week we'll get into the mid 4s, and then we'll get into the low 4s by the end of the year, and then we'll get into the 3s next spring. So next spring will be decent, I think. It'll be a much better housing market than it was this year for sure, and I think we'll see a normal spring. But we still got a ways to go because first-time home buyers are still hesitant because the house prices are so expensive and the cost of living next to it is so expensive. But that 30-year amortization, what I believe is going to happen in the spring when the spring budget comes out, I believe we'll see a 30-year amortization not only for builders but for resale properties.
Oh, it has to be.
And that's what's going to really get the spring market going.
And I agree. And if you're a first-time home buyer and you're waiting for that spring market, for those rates to get right down low, rock bottom, I wouldn't wait. I mean, because once we hit that rock bottom, our prices have already started to go up and they're going to continue to go up. I would get in sooner than later. And you say it's unaffordable to buy a place here in Ottawa. I mean, tell that to someone who bought in Jan, Feb, March, and April of 2022, who paid, $750 for their townhome. That's now $550 or $575 or $625. So I do think that, yes, four years ago where our townhomes were in the low 3s, mid 3s, and now they're in the, mid 5s to upper 5s. So yeah, you're thinking, yeah, that's unaffordable, but keep in mind, a year and a half ago, we were in the 7s. We were, our average sale price was much higher. I think we topped out at $739 or $740 or something like that was our highest average sale price. We're about $60,000 under that right now. So you can still buy an affordable house here in Ottawa compared to other capital cities in the world. Like we've talked about for a long time, the rates are coming down, stomach them for a little while. And I think if you can get in sooner than later, I think you're gonna be very happy if you get the right rate.
But I'm wondering why the government even bothers, because the last 2 programs they've announced for first-time homebuyers have had virtually zero impact.
Well, again, this 30-year amortization that they just announced got a lot of play. And, of course, Chrystia Freeling came on the day before it was announced and said how much it's going to save Canadians. But, again, she's I think, tone deaf to the fact that houses are still too expensive.
Yeah.
And the 30-year amortization on a $500,000 mortgage makes a difference of between $230 and $250 a month. Not enough to get people off the fence and into.
Well, first, it's only on new builds.
Yes.
And it's got to be insured.
It's got to be default insured.
So
less
you got to find a
20%
builder
down.
that is willing to take less than 20%.
Or they take the 5%. So if you've got a 5% down payment, but again, most first-time home buyers that I meet up with say, well, they've got about 2 or 3%.
Yeah.
And they're going to save it because the house is not ready for a year. So they got another year to save that down payment.
But then CMHC is going to add a surcharge to that,
They
too.
all do. So CMHC, Sagen, and Canada Guarantee are the 3 default insurers. So typically, if you bought a house with 5% down on a 25-year amortization, your default insurance was 4%. Now it's 4.2% if you take a 30-year amortization.
Which you have to pay, and you have to pay tax on that when you close.
Well, you got to pay PST. Again, the difference between the 25 and the 30-year when it comes to default insurance is minimal. That's not the issue. Are the payments lower? Sure. I mean, that's good for first-time home buyers, but it still doesn't solve the other problem, which is most Canadians right now are struggling to save down payment because it's so expensive out there. So the ones that are fortunate enough that have family to help them or something has happened that they've gotten some money together, then that's good. But for your average Canadian, young Canadian who's starting their career in their mid-late 20s, what we're seeing is first-time home buyers are likely going to be in the low 30s as opposed to late 20s because that's how long it takes them to get established to qualify for a mortgage.
Which is too bad. And I don't know why this program came out and it was just first-time home buyers. Sorry, just new home builders.
It doesn't make sense.
It didn't
It's
make
not
sense.
first-time home buyers, though,
No,
Paul.
it's for
it's
new
not.
home builds.
It's not, though, right? It's a stupid phrase. It really is. First-time home buyers is defined by someone that's never owned a home. Well, that makes sense. Or someone that hasn't owned a home for 4 years, 4 full calendar years. Well, then you're not a first-time, you're a second-time home buyer, but somehow you qualify for it. Or if you've gone through a marital breakup and or legal separation in a common law relationship. So I don't understand why they call it a first-time home buyer, because it's not a first-time home buyer.
It sounds better.
Yeah,
I know, but it tricks people into people that don't know that they have access to it. They don't even think about it because they don't think they qualify for it.
But these people still have to go for the qualifying rate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the problem with the interest rates, is the fact that, as interest rates come down, the bottom line is that the qualifying rate is still 2% above what you get. So absolutely, if they're taking a 5-year at 4.64 today, and now you're qualifying at 6.84, where 8 months ago you were qualifying at 7.5 because the rates were 5.5. So it's getting better. Still got a long way to go.
So do you qualify off the posted rate or the rate you can get?
Whatever contract rate you get. So if you take an adjustable or variable rate mortgage today and you're able to get on an insured deal, you can get prime minus 105, 6.7 less 105, 565. You got to qualify at 765. If you don't qualify at 765, but you qualify at 664, then you're forced to take a 5-year fixed, even though it may not be the smartest way to go right now.
Wow. Well, hopefully this helps some new home builders, even though I doubt it is. I mean, you can always tell when the new home builders are hurting is they reach out to the realtors and start offering them lots of money to bring clients to them, and that's what they're doing right now.
But there's still issues. Developmental charges.
Oh, well,
right?
the new home builders are in trouble with how much it costs to actually build a home, and people are wondering why their prices are so high. Well, I think it was when years ago when that report came out, about a quarter of their costs, maybe even a third of their costs, go towards sort of soft costs, like not even the home. It's more like permits and structure, engineering and, permits and all that kind of stuff, which doesn't really add any value to the property. But
and they don't see that money either.
They don't. They don't.
So they usually have to borrow on that.
Yeah.
And the rates are high to borrow.
Yeah. Exactly.
And the other thing too is, and I don't know if you saw the story this week, where a number of big builders in Ontario got together and they've approached the locals, the provincial and the federal government, saying to them, listen, bring down your costs, bring down the charges for us to put a shovel in the ground, and we'll pass that on to consumers.
Yeah.
Just allow us to build more homes. We're not looking to make more money. We will build them for what they cost. But right now, they're too expensive for home buyers to get in. So if you can bring those developmental charges, all the fees you guys charge, if you can, all three parties work together to bring them down, us as builders will give you our word. We will start building way more homes. And I know, so far, crickets.
And it's not, I know we have to go to break here, but it's not hurting the big builders as much because they pay a lot of cash for things. Yeah. What it hurts is your medium and your small builders that have to take loans in order to get shovels in the ground. So when it costs so much to build a home and you have to pay the high interest rates on these loans to get shovels in the ground, those are the people that are being hurt right now, is the small and the mid-sized builders, not the big, the big massive builders.
My goodness, you guys are smart.
Well, we've only been doing this for 18 years.
If you would like part of this wisdom and you have a question, 521-TALK, 521-8255. We'll be right back.
We return to Open House, the real estate and mortgage show on News Talk 580 CFRA.
You probably won't see this until it hits YouTube, but Paul is looking really good today. He's all dressed up.
It's a Saturday. I always wear a blazer on a Saturday.
Jacket on a
Saturday. I always wear a
blazer and shorts.
You know what I do, though? I wear my blazer. So when I go into Starbucks to get Frank's breakfast every morning, I look sharp.
Yeah, see, I like to look really bad so I get a discount.
Yeah, so that must be Frank's motto, too.
I'm enjoying my water. Great breakfast. Geez.
But yes, you got to look the part, Stephen. You got to look the part.
Yeah, I've always been told that. Now it's way too late for me.
Yeah, busy week, though, like on the markets. It's been, like this week was really so many articles out there, so many economists that have changed their tune so quickly, and all it took is the Treasury for him to say we're leaving it, because it was a close vote apparently
in the States. Now
the States. In England, they actually lowered a quarter point.
Yeah, but they're only down to 5.
I get it, but it's a start, right? So all of a sudden, the markets start to see that Canada was the first to come down. Now England, U.S. is talking about September 18th as much as a 0.5% drop. We're seeing the job numbers come in weak in the U.S., much less than they anticipate. So all the signs that we've been talking about for the last number of months now are starting to show up on paper. And once they show up on paper, then the markets react aggressively, and that's why we saw the huge drop in bond. The 10-year Treasury in the U.S., the 10-year bond in the U.S. came down half a basis points in 2.5 days. Unheard of. So that's how much it's changing. So, when we talk about interest rates coming down and helping the real estate market maybe to pick up a little bit, in Canada, it's going to be fantastic. The U.S. still won't make a difference because, unfortunately, people that took mortgages out during the pandemic have no interest in moving anywhere because they got 3% mortgages for the next 27 years, 28 years. So they have no interest. Even though they've come down, you're still in the high 6s, low 7s for a 30-year mortgage in the U.S., and that's still way too expensive for most Americans.
Yeah, when I go to these conferences and they're like, "What do you mean you guys can get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 year mortgage?"
They don't understand that.
They're like, ours are like 25, 30-year mortgages.
It used to be the same here too, though, but a long time ago.
Yeah, but listen, for them, a long time ago, it was a good advantage for them. I mean, their rates were so low, they could lock in for 30 years. They had this low rate for 30 years on this house. But what I agree with Frank with what he's saying, that right now, a lot of these guys took these mortgages that, I mean, the states are like 6.5%, 7% right now. So some of the people are locked in at these. Anyone who has a nice low rate that on a 30-year, they're like, why am I going to move? And I have to potentially blend and extend. And now I'm up, 4, 5, 6, 7%. On a new house that's increased in value. Some areas have increased drastically. So there's a lot of people that are just not moving in the States. Here, we're a little bit more lucky. We can take a short term. We can take a variable.
If you qualify.
If you qualify. But you know what? If you do, we're now starting to see some rates drop. I know Frank has said he believes it's going to be spring 2025. And like I said, I was sitting with one of my agents this week, and I was very happy to hear that he's in the know. I mean, he sells 100 homes a year, so he's pretty knowledgeable. He believes that the market is very, very strong, or getting to be very, very strong, and we're going to have a really nice fall market going into the winter months. And then, like Frank said, in spring, he thinks it's going to be a much better market. We might at that point already have 4 or 5 rate drops when we get into the middle of the spring market. We could be in the low 4s, high 3s, something like that. And I think our economy at that point will be a little bit healthier. I think our market's going to be stronger. And I think it's going to be we're definitely not going to be in a seller's market, but I think we're going to be teetering closer to a seller's market than we are right now. Sorry.
So fixed rates have come down a wee bit. What happens in September if the States comes down 50 basis points?
So the bond market's already started to react based on the fact that already in August, beginning of August, they've already reacted to a potential rate move middle of September. But as we get closer to it and it becomes a certainty, we'll see the bond markets again gradually come down. And that's when we'll start to see the fixed rates really have some really good discounts, as opposed to now we're seeing 5-10 basis points at a time. We might see things like, them go from 4.64 to 4.39, boom, just like that.
Do you see high 3s by the end of the year?
Do I see high 3s by the end of the year? No, I think I see high 3s in the spring, and that's why I think that's where I think there'll be some enthusiasm for first-time home buyers in the spring, because if they can see a fixed mortgage rate that starts with a 3, whether it's 3.79 or 3.99, there's hope. They feel like there's hope in being able to afford the home and being able to become a homeowner without being mortgage poor and just, your whole paycheck goes towards a mortgage and you got to stop your life kind of thing, the things that you like doing.
I think a lot of the enthusiasm and the hope right now is coming from the move-up buyers, the move-down buyers, people that have a little more cash in the bank, have a little more equity in their home. But the problem being is if you don't have those first-time home buyers coming in to buy that home for the move-up buyers to buy, they're not able to move up. So I think that, it's great to see that there's a lot more optimism in a certain segment of the market. But I think, Frank, I agree with Frank, we might need a few more rate drops until those first-time home buyers are like 100% I'm ready to go. Right now we're seeing some that are slowly starting to stomach those rates, can afford it. The problem being was the rents have skyrocketed so much over the last few years that it's hard to sock away some money when you're spending $2,500, $2,700, $3,000 a month, plus utilities, plus groceries, plus gas. It's hard to sock away some money for that down payment to get back in the market or to get into the market for the first time. And, until we get some of those rate drops, until they can stomach those rates a little bit more, I think our first-time home buyers are going to be slowly petering into the market rather than pouring into the market.
So if you're paying, $2,700 a month in rent, what would be the equivalent?
Could
you buy a place for $500,000 and be ahead?
With 5% down, you're probably in the low 3,000s when it comes to mortgage payments, and then you got to put taxes on top of that. So, your rent includes property taxes, kind of, because obviously the landlord's paying the property taxes, not you. It's included in the rent payments. So we're not there yet. That's why I say once we get into the threes, it becomes more reasonable to be able to look at, we're paying $2,700 in rent and it's going to cost us with taxes $3,000. Well, for $300, it might be worth the move to become a homeowner instead of renting. But right now it's $500, $600, $700 a month, and already in a time when they're just struggling to make ends meet. That's the other part. I mean, that's what we're going to have to see. We got to hope that the cost of everything else either stabilizes or maybe comes down a little bit, so that there's that extra cash available for first-time home buyers to be able to say, you know what, we can do this. Like, we can do it because we are going to have some money set aside still to be able to deal with emergencies, because that's what you have to do as a homeowner. You have to be able to have some money aside, or at least have the ability to have money aside should your furnace go, should your air conditioner go. You need to have that.
And you want to add things. First thing you want to do when you get a new house is change it.
Yeah, even if it's a new build, you are putting thousands of dollars into it the first few months.
Steve, before we go to break, I just want to give a shout out to my most experienced agent who's been with me the longest, Kevin Janiga, for calling me during the show and not realizing that we're actually on the radio right now after 12 years. He doesn't realize that he's been with me 12 years.
Did he call to tell me how good a job I'm doing?
Well, I don't know, but he's like, give me a call when you can. I'm like, I'm on a thing called our radio show.
Did he call to correct you, maybe?
Maybe he's calling to tell me I'm full of you-know-what. Yes.
He likes your jacket.
Yeah, he likes my jacket.
521-TALK, 521-8255. We'll be right back.
Real Estate and Mortgage Show on News Talk 580 CFRA.
Welcome back. Paul Rushforth here. Frank Napolitano here. Greg is here. See, Greg's not on camera, so he's not dressed up today. What do you got?
Greg's always dressed up.
Is that a Hooters t-shirt you're wearing?
No, Greg's in and out of houses, so he's always wearing the Paul Rushforth logoed gear.
Apparently, you're selling a lot of homes in the country, because I saw his vehicle, and he's hit every bug from here to Arnprior.
Well, that is true, and the beauty of this radio show basically is that we're pretty much all over the map. We don't specialize sort of in one area; we specialize in all areas, and.
I see you have a whole bunch of condos for sale too on your website.
We do. We have over 100 listings right now, so we're listing a lot of properties, which keeps Greg very, very busy. I mean,
but new ones too.
When I first hired him, I actually thought I was overpaying him because he was never on the road taking pictures. Now he's busy as hell. I mean, he can't even get him to take pictures of me. You know what's going on?
But you've got the new condos as well.
We have new condos. What you were talking about, the new home builds we have with Clement?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like
it could be attractive to first-time home buyers.
It is very attractive because their deposit structure is really, really good. Like they don't take anywhere near 20%. For some of the condos, they're like it's like $20,000. When the condos are $400,000 or $500,000, that's relatively inexpensive to get into the market.
When are they ready, Paul?
We have some ready there right now. We if we're looking at Embrun, we have some condos. I think we have 6 or 7 or 8 left. These condos, these are really nice, priced in the 3s and 4s. They're ready right now, and then we have townhouses in Rockland. On the golf course, at the Rockland Golf Course. We have some that are ready right now. We also have another, I think it was 200 to 220 new townhomes that are being started this year with CH Clement. Clement Homes is what they are, and they're a beautiful build. Everything is... Things that you would think would be an upgrade are actually just a standard with them, which is really nice because a lot of new home builders, you walk in and their show home is like, hardwoods and granites and all this stuff, and you think that's what you're getting. With Clement Homes, you're actually getting a lot of that stuff. Granite is standard. Hardwoods, ceramics, high-end kitchen cabinets are all standard.
When are they ready, Paul? Like the new builds, like next spring?
We have some that are ready right now,
but for people that want to buy it for later on.
Yeah, we do have some that are ready next year because he builds in phases, right? Just like what builders do. He builds in phases, but because he's very good with his trades and pays them on time and is very, very loyal to these trades, they kick these houses out pretty quick. So we have lots that are ready this year, and we have lots that are ready into 2025.
But that'd be something the first-time homebuyers should be looking at, because if you got a house that's coming up due in 2025, by then rates should be down. It could be a perfect scenario.
My point, right? We talk about the perfect, right now there's no uplift on this new program, the 30-year amortization from builders, but where it could be is if you get reasonably priced homes like that builder's got right now, that are ready in the spring or summer of next year, then all of a sudden now you're probably looking at interest rates that will be in the 3s, and you're able to get a 30-year amortization. So all of a sudden that adds up to making financial sense and allowing first-time homebuyers to get in there and feeling like they're not going to be overwhelmed by the mortgage payments.
And that's exactly it. I mean, if you can hold off for a couple of years or a year to get into this townhome and you're getting rates that, as they come down,
and you got a guaranteed price today.
You got a guaranteed price today. And we're talking townhomes in the mid fives and low fives, like low fives and mid fives for a townhome backing onto a golf course.
With not a lot of upgrades needed, right?
No, it's I mean, if you want to upgrade things, it's like minor things that you wouldn't even think about upgrading. Everything else is upgraded. And some of them have walkout basements, which is really, really cool. That. So yeah, he's thought of everything. And the nice thing about these townhomes, and especially the condos are all built, all concrete. Walls, ceiling, all concrete. So everyone knows when you go into a condo, all you hear is your neighbor.
Yeah.
Not in these ones. They're all built
with
concrete.
Which can be fun, but...
Yeah. Well, even the townhomes, the party wall that connects the townhomes are all concrete. So you don't hear your neighbors, which is really nice. And he goes above and beyond building, to be honest with you. I remember when he was building those condos, Greg and I did a video out there, and when we were off air, I actually said to him, I said, Charles, you're a builder game. You're in the profit game. You're in to make profit. You can build these cheaper and make more profit and more money. Why are you building them with so much concrete and all this cost and all
because
that?
His name is on them.
Exactly what he said to me, Frank. He said, because my name is on them. And when they're telling their kids about me, I want kids, hey kids, buy one of these Clement homes, buy from Charles because the quality is there. So he says, it's my name. He says, I'm not some company that hides behind a numbered company or one of these. He goes,
hit and run.
I'm a builder that is backing my name, and my name means gold to me. And so I want to make sure that when people take my condos and my townhomes and my product, they're getting gold and they expect gold, and then they refer me to other people who are expecting gold, and that's what they're getting.
Not to mention the resale value ends up staying there, because if they're built that well, when you're ready to move up to the next home, your resale value should be very high because of those standards.
Well, what we're getting too is we're getting a lot of people who are who buy the condos and they're growing out of the condos. And then because they love the build so much, they're now buying their townhomes and they're buying the Clement townhomes. So that's what we're seeing. And I've had lots of builders who have approached me and said, hey, can you back my product? Can you sell my product? Can you do this? And I do a little bit of research and all that. I'm like, I just don't feel comfortable because also
for the same reason, you don't want to put your name on it.
I don't want to put my name on something that I'm going to hide away from. My name means gold as well to me, and I expect other people to expect that from me. It's the same with the builder. So when I interviewed Charles, just like he interviewed me, we were both interviewing each other, and I want to know, am I going to rep this builder, or is this something that's going to hurt my reputation?
Yeah.
And when I realized what he does and how he builds and how it's so important to him to back his own name, I was like, I back this builder, and that's probably why we're selling a lot, and he's backing us.
Thank God you didn't interview me. You'd have never let me do this show.
Oh God, no! I think that was by default. And now we're just stuck with you, right, Frank?
Well,
Is that not true?
Like when Paul and I came up with the idea, I got this guy named Steve. I think he'd be okay to do.
He's not doing anything on Saturdays.
Yeah. Although our best show was probably the show that Steve left early for. Was it your birthday or someone's birthday?
No, he was going on a train. He was taking a train.
Yeah,
I think, somewhere.
And
right?
that was the best show.
Toronto.
The best.
Well,
show.
the last half of the show, anyway.
Steve, we would be nowhere without you, by
true.
the way. Nowhere.
2 shows he's missed, Paul.
I know.
2 shows.
You missed that. You missed that in a month.
Me. Let's let our listeners decide who they've heard more, me or you.
Now, listen, I'm on your website today, Paul, and is it just me, or is there more variety now?
There is. But once again,
and Greg would know, he's out taking pictures.
Well, Greg is out taking pictures, and between townhomes, single family homes, large homes,
even lots.
Greg, you could probably jump in here and just say, like, what are some of the things that you're seeing right now that you're taking pictures of ours?
Literally everything.
Yeah.
I am all over the place. Country, city, some of the smaller outlying towns, center of town, condos. Like, we got a ton of stuff up on the site right now.
When Greg first came to work here, and Greg, you're how long working with me now?
2.5.
Has it been that long?
Yeah.
I don't think it's
time for a raise.
That's right. You just celebrated your 2 years.
Time for a raise.
So let's say two and a half. And when Greg first came to work here, he got a brand new car. Greg, how many kilometers are on that car right now?
It's edging up on 118.
118,000 kilometers.
Can you maybe splurge for a couple of car washes for him if it's full of bugs?
I must admit, I did see Greg's car the other day in the parking lot, and I said I need to get him a car wash pass because it was gross. Greg, come on, pride.
I was out shooting all in the country the other day on dirt roads.
Now, speaking of variety, is it worth buying a lot as an investment right now and hanging on to it?
Well, listen, depending on what you're planning on doing with that lot, I'm always searching for lots. And the one thing about lots, they don't go up in value as much as when you put a home on it. But if you're thinking of, let's say, building a dream home and you're maybe going to do that in 5, 7, 8 years, I would buy a lot now and you can definitely sit on that lot for sure. If it's a lot that's been cleared, you want to maintain that lot. But if it's just a big treed lot, I'd sit on it if you're not willing to do anything right now. But I mean, they're not going to increase that much. I mean, if you decide that you want to buy a lot to sell a lot 5, 7, 10 years from now, no, I wouldn't do that. I mean, there's not a lot of value. But if you're going to build on it and then sell that product, there's a ton of value in that.
Can you get a mortgage on just a lot?
Very difficult to get land mortgages these days. Generally speaking, a bank might do it as a loan and not necessarily a mortgage. It all depends on the cost and depends on your circumstances. But it's not impossible, but it's improbable to get just a more. I've had people call me and say they've got 5%. They want to buy a lot. Not possible.
Yeah.
You've got to have a significant down payment. Many banks will ask you anywhere between 25 to 35% down payment minimum before you can buy a lot. So,
but usually land doesn't go down in value.
Don't know that, but a bank doesn't necessarily. So you got to keep in mind
because there's nothing for them to get back, I guess.
Well, and if somebody is lending you money, especially the banks, the lenders today, they need to know that if you somehow slip up and you stop making your payments or you fall behind, they want to be able to put that property on the market and sell it right away. Land doesn't have a huge, following when it comes to land. There's not a lot of people out there looking to buy land because the cost of building is very expensive as well these days. And if builders are going through that cost, to get their shovel in the ground, everyday consumers are going through the exact same thing, the permits and everything else that happens with it. And if you're just struggling to come up with the down payment for the land, saving enough money to be able to because no bank is going to give you money to put the shovel in the ground. No. You got to have your own skin in the game before they start giving you money. And the banks typically give you money when you've completed phases. So, an example is a bank. The first stage that they give you money on a construction mortgage, your house has to be your foundation in, your house has to be all framed up, roof shingled, and windows and doors installed. And for anybody that's ever built a home, to get to that stage right there, you're probably about 50% because at that point, you've also got to give deposits for a whole bunch of other things that are forthcoming. So you got to have money
that's when
up
most
front
of the
to do
trades
it.
come in is after all that's done.
We get a lot of people who are like, I want to buy a lot and build on it. I'm like, do you have deep skin? Like, do you have deep pockets? Because you do need some money for that. And you're asking a question, do you buy land? Is it going to appreciate things like that? Well, the truth is when you buy a home and you're going to go replace the kitchen, put the hardwood floors in, maybe do this and do that and do that, that's going to increase the value. If you're going to buy land and sit on it, and then 5 years later you're going to sell it or something, what have you done to that land to increase the value?
Cut the grass.
You're right, and maybe not even. You're just hoping land values have increased. But the problem is with things being so expensive nowadays, it's tough to buy land, get a builder to build a product, and then turn around and flip it because it's so expensive to buy land and it's so expensive to build right now.
Yeah, we don't even use the word flip anymore. There's no such thing.
It's tough to flip. I mean, you have to find something and get the right deal.
And capital gains.
It's
an American term. Let's call a spade a spade.
It is.
That's more American than it is Canadian.
That's why I always love when some of these Americans come in and they put on seminars and stuff like that. How to make $1 billion flipping homes. I'm like, you're in the wrong market.
How to make $1 billion flipping homes? Hold a seminar.
Yeah, exactly. And charge $2,000 to come to it and learn about it. Yeah.
521-TALK, 521-8255. We will be right back.
To Open House, the real estate and mortgage show on News Talk 580 CFRA.
We're back to the show. So we got September 4th, October 23rd, and December 11th. You think we're going to go down a quarter point each time?
Right now, it's trending in that direction. Anything can change. Obviously, there's a lot of reports that come out between now and the end of, it's pretty well a sure thing. Tiff Macklem almost didn't guarantee it, but he certainly hinted that September 4th, we'd likely see another rate drop.
Well, it helps that England and the States are going to come down, too.
100%.
England's already
well,
down.
England has. So, that's the kind of sign. And it's interesting because generally speaking, if we lower our prime rate and the other countries don't lower theirs, our Canadian dollar takes a hit for it.
Yeah, that's where we have to balance, right?
That hasn't happened, though. So we've dropped a 0.5 percentage point on our Canadian dollars, pretty well remained at par. So that in itself at least gives him a little bit of comfort knowing that he's going in the right direction and we're not doing any damage to our Canadian dollar, the currency. So, I think for that reason, the only way that I can see that he won't drop in September is that, the inflation goes back up and or the job report comes in and it's way more robust than it needs to be. But if those things just come back average, then I think the door is open for another 0.25% drop. The U.S. is September 18th, expecting at least a quarter, likely 0.5% there. And if it is 0.5%, then that door is opened again for October 23rd in Canada for another 0.25% drop. Yeah. So
you only think quarter though, eh? You don't think we're going to hit a half?
No, but I think again, if we can continually see a 0.25% drop at the 8 meetings that they have every year. So if we saw, the 0.25% for the rest of the year, and then we saw the 0.25% drops for 6 or 7 out of the 8 meetings next year, I think that's the signal that gets us going in the right direction. And if the U.S. follows in that same suit, then we'll start to see the rates get back into a reasonable. And I had an email. I was telling you I did a couple of TV appearances this week, and one of the viewers that wrote me and said, "Hey, like clearly you weren't around in the days when the interest rates were 21 and 24." And I wrote him back and I said, "But we're not comparing apples to apples. Believe it or not, today 5% on buying a house on a mortgage feels like 18% did in 1981. Because in 1981, the cost of a house and the cost of living was much different than it is today. In 1981, there was no internet, $150 a month. There was no cell phones. The food prices were reasonable back then. The difference is that gas was reasonable. Everything else outside of the home was a reasonable cost, so that, yeah, you took a hit on the mortgage, but everything else was reasonable outside of that. Where today, 5% feels like 18% because the house prices are way up, the property taxes are way up, the utilities are off the charts. So that's why I think, really 5% today is extremely high. I've said it for a long time. I think if 5-year mortgages can be between 2.5% and 3.5%, depending on what's going on with the economy, I think that's a comfort zone for many Canadians to make sure that our housing market remains kind of online.
Anyone who went through the markets where it was even 7, 8, 10, 12, 15%, they must think this is a slam dunk. And I've had some coffees at Starbucks with some people and had some chats with them, and they're just like, I can stomach these rates. And I said, it's tough. It's where you have the younger generation or the people who went through the COVID rates when they were so low, and now they see these rates and they're actually hard to stomach for those type of people. But there's lots of people, sort of my age all the way to, well, I wouldn't say your age, Steve, but anyways, my age up, that are okay with these rates. My first rate was 6.35%, which I know is low in terms of for you guys, but my first mortgage was 6.35%. So now if we're getting something in the 4s and the 5s, yes, for some people that's a lot, but as we start seeing those down, and I agree with Frank, I mean, if we can get rates between 2.5 to 3.5, I think that's affordable. But what will happen at that point, which is going to be tough, is once those rates go down to 2.5 to 3.5, I think our prices are going to go up, which is going to make it like,
and they're going to go up fast too.
Well, they are, but it's going to make it almost like it is now. Would you rather have these prices at 4.5%, or would you rather have elevated prices at 3.5%? I think it's all a wash when it comes out, is it not?
I think the people that can handle it now are people that have had mortgages for a while, so their mortgages are smaller, so they can take a bit of a hit.
Here's the problem with today's market. The problem with today's market is we're missing almost half our market when I told you about first-time home buyers and investors. That's what's the sting of this market, is that we can't get first-time home buyers into this market because of the rates. We can't get investors into this market because of the rates and the prices. And I think it's going to get even tougher as the prices start to go up. So that's why I'm saying there's got to be that sweet spot for first-time home buyers to get into the market, and we're there, if not getting very close to it. But you have to get in quick, because if you're not looking now and you're not getting in soon, the market's going to run away on you. And then, yes, the rates are going to come down, but the prices are going to go up. So you have to find that sweet spot. We're in that sweet spot.
Hey, you might as well start looking and seeing what's available. Educate yourself.
Well, you might as well. Even if you say, you know what, I'm not really in the financial position to buy until the spring market, not a problem. Let's chat with you, find out exactly what you're looking for, get you on a search so you can see properties that hit the market on a daily basis. And who knows, maybe we look at a couple just to see what your appetite is so we can narrow it down to exactly what you're looking for. Once we can find out exactly what you're looking for, when that comes up, when it's your time to buy, you're ready to pull the trigger, and that's very important in any market.
And keep listening to this show, especially next week when Paul's not here.
Yes, but we have a great mind in John. I will be away for the next 2 weeks. I'm away in Slovakia, but John Hall from my team is coming on next week, who's also brilliant. And, of course, we have the wonderful Dora the week after coming on.
See, frankly, even we get a vacation
there
in the
we
summer.
go. Yeah, yes, we do. Yes, we do. Hey, let's have a little game of Jeopardy!
Here
Number
we go.
5. Answer the amount of times that Paul Rushforth, this show, said, I agree with Frank.
Ooh, now how insecure do
Did
you
that-
have to be to
Whoa,
count?
hold on. Did I say it 5 times?
5 times.
Okay, let's scrap this show. It's not even a good show.
So I'm going to miss him, Steve. I'm going to miss him next week.
How insecure do you have to be to count?
Seriously, right? Like he's just waiting for that. I know
Frank loves his affirmation.
Yes.
I know we're about to get to birthdays here, and I'll let Frank have all his vowels in a second, but I do want to have a shout-out, a good friend of Frank's, mine, yours, Steve, and Greg's, Mr. Adam Cote and Angie Poirier, who are going through a horrible time with their son, Nash, 8-year-old, going through terrible cancer. They're off to Boston tomorrow to
specialized chemo, right?
specialized chemo, specialized radiation. Sorry,
yeah.
So, but he's going to have chemo and radiation there, and our heart goes out to Adam and Angie and little Nash, and the kid's a fighter. And so, from this show, we bless you and hope that things work out. We look forward to having you back.
Absolutely.
Yep. And a couple of birthdays. Darren Sador from our office celebrating his birthday today, and my favorite and beautiful mother-in-law celebrates her birthday today. So.
Well, that's
There
not
we
what
go.
you were telling
She
us
is
on the
amazing.
break.
Yeah, right. I don't think so.
What are you getting her?
Hey?
What are you getting her?
What do you mean? What am I getting her? Oh, the new Swiffer.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm joking.
Hey, that's Frank N. at mortgagebrokersottawa.com for those complaints. And Paul at paulrushforth.com. Have a great week.
Have a
Have
great
a great
long
week.
weekend, everyone, and please continue to support local businesses and charities.